Hey everybody, I'm Diane Gale and I'm the author of the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and today you and I are going to make homemade mayonnaise. Homemade mayonnaise is actually very easy to make, and once you make your own, you will never go back to store-bought again. It's just going to take all of your mayonnaise-based recipes, like your potato salad, macaroni salad, chicken salad, coleslaw, your dressings, your salad dressings. It's going to take all of them, and your sauces, it's going to take them to a new level. Seriously, you are going to love this stuff. And besides, you know what? When you look at the ingredients in mayonnaise in the store, you know, commercially produced, it's a little bit misleading because there's not a whole lot of ingredients, but most mayonnaise has a soybean oil base. And soybean is one of the most genetically modified crops in the world. It's something you want to stay away from. And don't be fooled by the labels that say made with olive oil, because labeling is very, very, very deceiving. And all they have to do is put a little bit of olive oil in there in order to make that claim on the label. The fact of the matter is, it is still probably a soybean oil-based product. So basically, making mayonnaise is creating an emulsion. And if you don't know what an emulsion is, I first learned about emulsions when I used to make lotion for my apothecary. An emulsion is taking two liquids, two products, I don't know if it's only liquids, but two liquids for the purpose of this video, and that don't normally blend together, and blending them together. So with lotion it was oil and water, and with mayonnaise, you know, once again oil, and you're trying to blend it with all of the other ingredients. Now some of the ingredients that we use are emulsifiers. We're going to use an egg, and the egg yolk is an emulsifier. We're going to use a little bit of mustard, and the mustard is an emulsifier. So they will help the oil to blend with the other ingredients. There are several different ways that you can make homemade mayonnaise at home. I have tried them. One of them is just with a whisk in a bowl, right? And a whole lot of elbow grease. You're whisking, whisking, whisking. It's very hard to do. In that method, you have to drizzle the oil in very slowly. And if you can just picture like a bowl full of liquid that you're whisking, and then with the other hand you're trying to pour the oil, there's nothing holding on to the bowl. I don't like that method at all, but it works, and if that's all you have and you want to give it a try, I say go for it. Another method is with a food processor, and the food processor can work kind of well, especially if you have a smaller food processor, but the food processor that I had was rather large, and so what would happen is you're going to put all of your ingredients in the food processor, and you really kind of want to blend them together for your best result before you start to drizzle your oil in. And a lot of times the food processor isn't big enough. Those ingredients spread out too far on the bottom, and the blades can't get them to mix them up. So the food processor was also not my favorite way to go. Drizzling the olive oil in very slowly is a common practice when you're creating an emulsion, but today I am going to present to you the method that uses the immersion blender, the hand immersion blender. And in this method, you are not going to have to drizzle your oil in. It's kind of like magic. It works fabulously, and it is the method that everyone says, and I can personally attest to, has the least amount of breakage for mayonnaise. So mayonnaise, you know, once you get all your stuff, your ingredients blended together and you've created an emulsion, sometimes it is not emulsified to the level that it needs to be, and your ingredients can separate. This, I have never had my ingredients separate while using this. So I'm going to bring you in closer so that you can actually see the magic of this process happening. I think it'll be a lot easier to explain it to you that way. And then you'll know exactly how the whole process works when using a hand immersion blender. So the immersion blender that I'm going to be using for this today comes with this container to mix things in. And it's perfect because, as you can see, when you put the immersion blender down in here, it fits snugly, and that makes it so that it will actually, you know, mix all of the liquids together. There's not going to be any outlying liquid on the sides. If you have an immersion blender that doesn't come with this, you can use a mason jar. A mason jar works perfectly for this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put all of our ingredients in here except for the oil. We're going to put in 1 raw egg. Now, I'm going to disclose that the FDA and the USDA both state that eggs must be cooked to consume them. So you have to evaluate a little bit here how you feel about that. I use a farm fresh egg. I'm perfectly happy with that. It's just my preference. If you want to follow the FDA and USDA recommendations because you're concerned about salmonella bacteria, then what you can do is you can use a pasteurized egg. So a pasteurized egg is something that has been heated up enough to kill the salmonella bacteria, but not enough to cook the egg. It's my understanding that these are available in the grocery store. I honestly have never really looked at the labeling of eggs in the grocery store. I couldn't really tell you. I know there are ways to pasteurize eggs at home. I also have never looked at that. But again, full disclosure, the FDA and the USDA states that this is not a safe practice. So this is a decision that you're going to have to make for yourself. My personal choice is to go ahead and use an organically raised farm fresh egg. And the next thing that we're going to put in there is 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Freshly squeezed lemon juice really does make a little bit of a difference in this recipe. The bottled lemon juice can kind of give your mayonnaise an off taste, but the bottled lemon juice will work if that's all you have. And then we're going to put in a tablespoon of white vinegar. White vinegar is my choice because it has the most neutral flavor. Once you know how to make your own mayonnaise, you can experiment with your mustard, because we're going to put mustard in here next, with your eggs and with your oil, and you can create blends that you prefer. So you can use a white wine vinegar. You can use any vinegar in this. I prefer to just use a white vinegar. I like the neutral flavor of the white vinegar. And then today we're going to put in a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Like I said earlier, the mustard is an emulsifier, and like I just said, you're going to be able to experiment with these ingredients once you know how to make your own mayonnaise. And then we're going to put in a ½ teaspoon of salt. Now I'm using pink salt today. Again, any salt that you want to use. My preference is real salt. I don't have any here yet in PA, so pink salt it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take these ingredients and we're going to plop our immersion blender in there, and on a low speed we're going to blend the ingredients together. Let me make sure I'm on low there. Okay. Now technically you don't have to blend these together, but it does help with the emulsion process. And then I'm going to take a cup of olive oil. Now I didn't use virgin olive oil or extra virgin olive oil because the flavor is too strong. Actually, I prefer a grapeseed oil or a sunflower oil, something that has a very mild flavor. But this is what I have in the house today, so this is what we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour this oil in here, sort of breaking all of the emulsion rules in the process. And then I'm going to take the immersion blender and submerge it to the bottom. Do not go up and down with the blender. That will hinder your emulsion process. You're going to want to submerge it to the bottom, and then we're going to turn it on. And I'm going to slowly come up to the top, blending in just a little bit of the oil at a time as I go. Again, on a low speed. Now, once you get all the way to the top, you may find that there's a little remnants of oil on the top that haven't blended in. And at this point, because there's so little, it's okay to make an up and down motion with the blender and finish emulsifying your mayonnaise. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to tap as much of that mayonnaise off of the immersion blender as I can. You can absolutely use a spatula to get this off of here, and I usually do, but because I'm doing the video today, I'm just going to make it quick and easy, and when I'm done tapping this off, I'm just going to set the immersion blender aside. I want you to see how thick and creamy this is. Can you see that? It is not quite as thick as store-bought mayonnaise, but know this, and I forgot to tell you this in the beginning of the video, you need to use room temperature ingredients to make this. So all of these ingredients are room temperature, and once they are refrigerated, they're going to thicken up a little bit. So it will be a little bit thicker than this. And that's it, you guys. It's really that easy to make your own mayonnaise, and you then know what your ingredients are, so you know what you're putting into your body, you know what you're putting into the body of your family. For me, that makes all the difference in the world. And the great thing about this is, like I said earlier, you can experiment with the ingredients, but you can also add ingredients. So you can put roasted garlic in there and make a roasted garlic mayonnaise. You can put cayenne, dill weed, chili powder, chives, anything that you can imagine you can put in there. And you can do combinations of seasonings too. You can do your own combination, or you can do like a fajita seasoning, or Cajun, or Caribbean jerk, or Tuscan. You can buy blends and you can put blends in there, and it raises this to a new level. You can you know, customize it to whatever you're serving that day, and you can also use it to make sauces. So I will link down below. I have a recipe for a homemade barbecue sauce. I have a recipe for a teriyaki marinade. I have a recipe for homemade ketchup. You can mix these together with this mayonnaise and make dipping sauces, or even create, you know, a different kind of marinade. They're out of this world. The ketchup and the mayonnaise is something that is called fry sauce. I don't know what it's called in Puerto Rico, but that's where I was introduced to it. They serve it a lot in Puerto Rico, and it's pretty simple, but it's pretty fabulous. So, you know, go ahead and put ketchup and mayonnaise and roasted garlic, right? There you go. A dip for your homemade fries. It's just a really versatile. Mayonnaise is very versatile. And then, of course, we talked earlier about how it's going to bring your regular recipes to another level. You know, your picnic salads and all of that. And I don't have a lot of those recipes on the blog yet, but I do have a recipe for a dill dressing, and I have a recipe for my grandmother's farmhouse coleslaw. They're both out of this world, and I will also link those down below for you so that you can check them out if you want to. You guys, make your own mayonnaise. For real, try it. If you have the immersion blender, it's so easy. If you don't, you can go ahead and use one of those other methods. It just takes a little bit more work, that's all. But give it a try, for sure. If you try to make something and it breaks apart on you, then take those ingredients and use them in a salad dressing. There's no reason to throw them away. Give it a try. You're gonna love it. And thank you so much for joining me here today. You and I are gonna get together again, and we're gonna do it really soon.